Shabbat Shalom. One of the joys that I've had over my time here in Minnesota is that I've had the privilege to drive Aria to preschool most mornings. And these really are truly some of the most cherished times with her and some of the most entertaining, amusing, and heartwarming moments of my day and week. And when we are not singing some of her favorite songs on the radio, or she is not busy playing with her ride-along Barbies that she has brought for the car ride, we often talk. Now, as she is in her last year of preschool, this has meant many more conversations as of late as compared to when we first moved here almost 3 years ago. 2 weeks ago, as we were heading from our apartment and crossing over the mighty Mississippi, Aria commented on the river water that was slightly frozen. She commented on the snow that was in the trees, and the fact that she could see our old high-rise apartment complex, 740, which she cutely calls the White House. But on this particular occasion, the sunrise was very gorgeous, and she said, "Bubba, look at the sun and the sky. It is so beautiful." I could not help but have a smile on my face, as this was one of those warm, fuzzy daughter-father moments. I then replied to her, "You are right. It is so beautiful, Booba." She then said, "It's better than beautiful. It is amazing, and I love it." With my heart overwhelmed with pride, I simply said, "I love it too, Aria. I love it too." Now, I could not help but think of this moment when examining this week's Parsha of Vayera, because our ancestors and our collective narrative come to witness some pretty amazing and miraculous things on their own. Our Parsha starts with the retelling of the commitment that God made to our forefathers, and God here doubles down on God's covenant with them and with us, that we will be brought out of the land of Egypt and be led to the land of our people, to the land of Israel. Yet, as we all know, as Moses himself knew, this is not going to be an easy task. And in last week's Parsha, we are told that Moses and Aaron are essentially laughed out of the palace by Pharaoh, and that he has no fear or worries for the way in which he treats his slaves. However, as we know from our annual Passover Seder, as well as from the Parsha this week, Moses and Aaron enact miracles of Hashem in the forms of plagues. God uses these acts of wonder to strike fear into the Egyptians and to ultimately lead God's people in allowing them to receive their redemption. However, there was another purpose of the plagues and the actions that God commands of Moses and Aaron. And I personally believe that that is highlighted in verse 12 of chapter 6, where it says, "Vaydaber Moshe livnei Adonai lemor, chen b'nei Yisrael lo shim'u elai ve'ech yishmaeni faro va'ani aral sefatayim." And in the English, "But Moses appealed to the Lord, saying, the Israelites would not listen to me. How then should Pharaoh heed me, a man of impeded speech?" And then the Torah continues in the following verse. "So the Lord spoke to both Moses and Aaron in regard to the Israelites, and Pharaoh king of Egypt, instructing them to deliver the Israelites from the land of Egypt." Now, from the plain reading of the text, it seems that verse 13 is merely saying that God spoke about the Israelites and Pharaoh to Moses, and he then told them to tell Pharaoh to let his people go. But I cannot help but think that there might be more than appears on the surface. And that is because of the preceding verse that seems to say the Israelites themselves were not buying what Moses and Aaron were selling in terms of redemption and in terms of God existing, or at least being present to take them out of their bondage. I think over the past year, this is something that we ourselves have probably felt, a sense of wondering where God is. The past 10 months have been filled with sorrow, unrest, contention, and of course the pandemic. Many of us, I am sure, were feeling the same as our ancient ancestors. We too have cried out to God to redeem us from our current reality. For the ancient Israelites, they had their faith restored in Hashem through the actions of the plagues, but ultimately from them crossing the sea and walking on dry land. For the ancient Israelites, it just was this moment that allowed them to be free and allowed them to connect with Hashem. And for the ancient Israelites, just like for the Egyptians, it was these miracles and actions from God that changed their mind. As modern Jews, we cannot look around and wait for the type of amazing actions that took place in our biblical narrative. However, that does not mean that there are not miracles happening in our everyday lives. Now that takes me back to that conversation I had with Arya on our drive to school. What she did was allow me to realize how much of our miracle and awe-inspiring thing it is to witness a sunrise, to see the Mississippi River flow from here all the way down ultimately to the bottom of our country. She allowed me to see how amazing Hashem's world is and how we should all be in awe of it. Hashem is not absent during the pandemic. God is here, and God will continue to be here throughout our lives. However, it is our responsibility to actively seek God out in our world. So as we head into this new week, I would challenge all of us to find a moment each day where we try and actively connect with God. Try and truly experience our everyday miracles. While we might be used to the sun rising and setting, we should not take these things for granted. We cannot just look at them as ordinary, because they are beyond that. They will be our daily moments of revelation, our daily moments where we deepen our relationship with Hashem. And as we head into Shabbat, and really as we continue throughout our week, I invite all of you to try and find those moments of revelation, to find those moments of connection. And I invite you to allow yourself to experience awe and to experience Hashem's world. Shabbat Shalom.